The deafening silence of the empty studio apartment pressed down on Ethan, heavy and suffocating. Outside, the vibrant energy of the city, usually a source of inspiration for the aspiring musician, now felt like a cruel mockery of his stagnant existence. The eviction notice, stark white against the peeling paint of his door, served as a brutal punctuation mark, 2 weeks of mounting anxiety and a simmering undercurrent of despair. His music, once a vibrant outpouring of his soul, had dried up. The gigs had dwindled, the rejections from labels piled up like a monument to his perceived failure. The small savings he had meticulously accumulated were gone, swallowed by rent and the relentless cost of survival in a city that seemed to have no room for his dreams. A wave of white-hot anger surged through Ethan, directed at the indifferent gatekeepers of the music industry, at the seemingly endless obstacles that stood between him and his passion. But beneath the anger lay a deeper, more corrosive fear, the fear that he wasn't good enough, that his dreams were nothing more than childish fantasies. Sleep offered no respite. His nights were haunted by fragmented melodies that never coalesced into a song, by critical voices echoing the rejections he had received. Anxiety manifested physically, a constant tightness in his chest, a persistent tremor in his hands that made even holding his guitar feel like a monumental effort. Driven by a desperate need for guidance, Ethan reached for a worn-out book that had been a constant companion throughout his often turbulent life, a collection of Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, a gift from his grandfather, a jazz musician who had faced his own share of hardship with quiet resilience. With trembling hands, Ethan opened the book, his eyes falling upon a familiar passage. "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Aurelius's words, though often revisited, struck him with a renewed force in this moment of crisis. He was allowing the external circumstances, the rejections, the looming eviction, to dictate his inner state, to silence the music within him. He needed to reclaim his mental space, to find strength in his own passion, regardless of external validation. He continued reading. Our actions may be impeded, but there can be no impeding our intentions or our dispositions, because we can accommodate and adapt. The mind adapts and converts to its own purposes the obstacle to our acting. Aurelius's wisdom offered a different perspective on the obstacles he faced. Instead of viewing them as insurmountable barriers, he could choose to see them as challenges to be overcome, as opportunities to adapt and find new pathways for his creativity. Later, as the weight of his despair threatened to crush him, Ethan recalled a passage from Seneca's Letters, a small volume he had picked up in a used bookstore years ago. Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. Seneca's words, though offering little immediate comfort in the face of his current predicament, planted a tiny seed of hope. The potential end of his current living situation, the apparent failure of his musical aspirations thus far, might not be the final note. It could potentially be the prelude to a new, unexpected melody. He closed the book, taking a slow, deliberate breath. The Stoic philosophy he was absorbing wasn't a magic solution to his problems, but it offered a framework for navigating them with greater resilience and a focus on his own inner resources. In the days that followed, Ethan didn't suddenly find fame or fortune. The eviction still loomed, but his internal landscape began to shift. Drawing strength from the Stoic principles he had encountered, he chose not to be defined by external validation or the lack thereof. He picked up his guitar, the familiar weight, a small comfort, and began to play. The music that flowed was different, tinged with the raw emotion of his struggles, but also infused with a newfound resilience, a refusal to be silenced. He started playing in smaller, less glamorous venues, connecting with audiences on a more intimate level. He focused on the process of creation, on the joy of making music, rather than solely on the elusive goal of fame. He remembered words about adapting to obstacles, and he began to explore new avenues for his music. Online platforms, collaborations with other artists, teaching. The rejections still stung, but they no longer held the same power to extinguish his inner fire. Months turned into a year. Ethan hadn't become a star, but he was making a living doing what he loved. He had found a community of fellow musicians who appreciated his unique voice. He had learned the profound difference between external validation and the profound intrinsic reward of pursuing his passion with integrity and perseverance. Reflecting on the intense stress and anxiety of those early days, Ethan recognized the profound impact of the ancient philosophy he had embraced. It hadn't magically solved his problems, but it had provided a framework for navigating them with greater resilience, emotional intelligence, and an unwavering focus on his own inner compass. The practical lesson Ethan learned, and one that resonates deeply with anyone pursuing a challenging dream, is this: in the face of setbacks, rejections, and the inherent uncertainties of pursuing a passion, our ability to persevere and find fulfillment depends on our capacity to control our inner responses, focus on the process rather than solely on the outcome, and adapt to the obstacles we encounter. The wisdom of Stoicism, as exemplified by Marcus Aurelius and Seneca, offers invaluable guidance in such situations. Focus on what you can control, your effort and intention. You cannot control external validation or the opinions of others. but you have complete control over your dedication, your effort, and your intention in pursuing your passion. Embrace the process, not just the outcome. Find joy and fulfillment in the act of creation and the journey of learning and growth, rather than solely fixating on external success. Adapt to obstacles. View setbacks not as definitive failures, but as challenges that require creativity and adaptation. Find new pathways and approaches to reach your goals. Cultivate inner resilience. Develop a strong sense of self-worth that is rooted in your passion and your effort, rather than being dependent on external approval. Remember the value of your craft. Even in the absence of widespread recognition, your passion and your dedication to it hold intrinsic value. Find meaning and purpose in the act of creation itself. Just as Ethan found a way to keep his musical dream alive amidst hardship by embracing Stoic principles, we too can navigate the challenges of pursuing our passions by focusing on our inner strength, adapting to obstacles, and finding joy in the process itself. The power to persevere lies within our ability to master our minds and choose our responses with intention and unwavering dedication. What passion are you pursuing? Share your biggest challenges and any strategies you use to stay motivated and resilient in the comments below. Let's support each other on our creative journeys.